an idea.
All Swedish, no finish. Am I right?
That was bad.
I am upset. My headache is now worse. I am upset with you.
What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. I'm Travis Brown, senior Texas A&M sports writer here at KBTX, alongside chief meteorologist Max Crawford. Max, how you doing over there?
Good,
little guy.
I feel like it's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
I've been neglecting the pod.
We kicked you off last week and then invited you back.
Yeah,
You've been busy. it was fine.
it's
It happens.
Y'all are about to get real busy.
Weather happens.
I don't want to talk about
I
it.
always love to talk about how I just love to watch you guys be busy.
Just
and
run
I can
around
just,
like little ants.
and I can just enjoy the content.
I hope there is weather that keeps you up.
Don't ever. There will be.
That harms nobody.
Inevitably.
That harms nobody, but just keeps you up
Well,
day after day after
okay.
day. Tyler Shaw, sports director. Tyler, how you doing?
We're doing well. We're just,
not nice.
trying to get sleep while we can. Right?
Yeah.
There's no sleep for
Why
the
would
wicked.
you wish no sleep upon a father?
Yeah, that's pretty cruel.
Well, because you're not getting it anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Knowing what he goes through.
That's
Yeah.
true. You've
If you're,
already.
it's like wishing he sneezes upon someone who has allergies. It's just going to happen anyway. So Max is back. He's also really both of us, really all three of us.
Yeah,
I think, are
not
a little.
thrilled, yeah.
We're doing this podcast begrudgingly because we had a raffle here at the KBTX. There was some old TVs.
Yeah.
So like one of them was like a 72-inch TV.
75.
Yeah.
75?
Yep.
Really?
There
Okay.
was a 75, there were two 55s, and there was a 43.
And they were not being used
Tyler
anymore.
was invested.
And they raffled them, and
Yeah.
I think we were just talking about how we were all convinced that we were getting one of these TVs.
One of them, I think it was the smaller one, the LG one,
Yeah.
was in the Weather Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, then take it.
Should have gone to
Yeah.
just take it by force.
Now that I think about it, we had like 4 old monitors that
moral
used to
of
be
the story-
here in the sports center.
Moral of the
That's
story,
what
none of
happens.
us got a TV.
I am fuming.
None of us
Rusty
got a
Surratt
TV.
did.
Rusty Surratt did. You like actually really needed a TV. Apparently, all of your
Yeah.
TV you've thrown way too many shoes at your TVs,
Uh-huh.
and they're all broken.
Shoes, controllers,
Yeah.
other just bottles.
Children.
No, not throwing children. Yeah, we're not to the point to where we need a new TV, but like we do. One of them is broken. That was the one on the back porch that I loved to just watch, like especially around baseball season, because you can pretty much always count on there being a baseball game on, like on a random weekend afternoon.
Yeah.
And it just went out on us.
I wanted the full measure of opulence to get the outdoor TV.
Yeah.
I don't have an outdoor TV. I would like the outdoor,
Yeah.
the patio TV.
I didn't need one. We got a nice 65-inch, works just fine. It's great. We have one in our bedroom, but the thought is we get another one.
Yeah,
Put it in a
moved the-
hallway.
you can always use
We
another
moved the
TV.
one in our bedroom to my daughter's room, and then we get the new one in our bedroom, and then we just
What about James? What about the baby? Does he get a TV?
technically Jenny, she has a tiny one. She doesn't really use it that much, so I guess technically he could have
You
that
do
one.
have a daughter that enjoys reading more than the average 10-year-old.
She does read a
The
lot.
screen time. She seems to mitigate her screen time naturally.
I should wish
She
I
does.
could
I mean,
do
she
that.
likes her TV shows, but yes, she does have her nose in the book. The majority.
What
of
is
the day.
what is her favorite TV show? K-pop Demon Hunters.
No, she's into like the old stuff, like Disney Channel, like Hannah Montana.
Nice.
She'll re-watch that over and over.
Okay.
Wasn't she kind of
Wizards.
proud of her not watching K-pop Demon Hunters? I feel like her
that's
and my
kind of
wife had that conversation.
It's kind of beneath her. It's like
Yeah.
that's the cool thing with all the kids, and she's like, yeah, I'm not into it all.
She's
Like,
a little indie like that.
Yeah. Wizards of Waverly Place.
Okay.
She likes that one too.
Very nice.
So she's the kid who's listening to classic rock when all of her other friends are
right.
are
The stuff
listening
that her
to
parents like. Yeah, exactly.
K-pop Demon Hunters.
Right.
Yeah. What
Classic
about
rock, like-
Mace? What's his? Is he into a lot of Frasier? Some Jag maybe?
No, he does like Star Wars though.
Oh.
But I would say the thing that he likes the most is I think it's called Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
And it's like there's some there's some flashing lights in there, and but it's not super high sensory. Like, I will watch it along with him sometimes, and it's like obviously animated. It's 3D animated, but it's not like all that crazy with like moving around and stuff like that. So I'm like generally okay with him watching that. I like watching Bluey with him.
I love Bluey.
Bluey is great.
I'm sad that Jenny's outgrown Bluey, but now James, when he gets
There you
older,
go. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Hallie she's only 10 months old, but like she recognizes when the Bluey theme song comes on and she'll like start clapping for that.
You're real into K-pop Demon Hunters, though, aren't you?
I don't even know what that is. I'm
Don't
not
either.
proud or anything to say that I don't. I just don't. I'm sure I will eventually.
The song is everywhere,
Yeah.
and it's kind of obnoxious.
I don't know it.
Kind of obnoxious.
I'm not
Am I wrong
familiar.
there?
It just got overplayed for a little bit.
Kind of obnoxious. A lot of figure skating commercials, I feel like, using it. A lot of Olympic commercials.
Someone used that was their song on like Dancing with the Stars.
Okay.
This year was that K-pop Demon Hunter song.
Well,
Well,
that's wonderful.
well, let's just drown our sorrows in some headlines here. Our non-TV sorrows that you can find over there at kbtx.com. First, we're going to start with the fact that Alabama's Chuck Bediako was ruled ineligible, and Bucky McMillan had some things to say about this. You know, he didn't kind of directly name Bediako in Alabama. He was kind of putting it back more on A&M, saying, you know, well, that's fine. They can do whatever they want, but where is the how do they rectify this for A&M? Because of course Alabama beat A&M by 3 points. Bediako had 5 points in that game. I don't know. I mean, of course Bediako, when he was playing, he was under a temporary restraining order, which means that from the start, those games, there's nothing that the NCAA conferences, anything can do to penalize Alabama or Bediako for playing during that time. Now that he's been ruled ineligible, that restraining order does not extend, he cannot play anymore. I don't know. This is a novel situation. What do y'all think about how this went down and what it should mean for A&M men's basketball moving forward?
You can't really do anything about it. I know what Bucky's saying. He's like, we have a loss on our record, to Alabama, to a player that is no longer, eligible. They can't take that game away, so you're going to have that loss. And it just kind of is what it is. Like the SEC standings, I get from A&M's perspective, Bucky's perspective, they're trying to, win the SEC. They're trying to climb up the standings, and you're going to have a loss that you feel like shouldn't be there. It is what it is. I think the only thing that could maybe rectify is just if the selection committee doesn't take that as much into consideration, or takes it into consideration the unique situation, and they penalize. And to that point, though, I don't know if the selection committee would penalize a 3-point loss on the road at Alabama a whole lot.
No,
when it comes, I don't think that's going to be the difference between like a 9 or an 8 or a 7 and a 6 seed. So
yeah.
I don't know if there's much that could be done.
Can I be just happy to be here, guy, for a second? I just love that.
So are you happy to be here?
I just that is debatable. But I just love that Tyler's talking about, like, are they going to be a 7 or an 8 seed at this point? Because I don't think enough can be said about the position that Bucky and his guys have played themselves into to even be having this conversation, right? Because I think, assuming we don't just continue this slide that we are currently on, we're going to make the tournament. So that, to me, that we're fortunate that it is that kind of conversation. And yeah, I would agree with you, Tyler. It was a loss at Alabama that we shouldn't be penalized too much for anyway. But yeah, I think a nice concession from the committee would be like, yeah, we took that into account. Did they actually? I don't know, but I would like to be told that at the very, very least. As far as SEC standings go, that kind of stinks, but it's still very much up for grabs. So yeah, it's just kind of like, I don't know what else you can do about that, because whenever he was playing, he was technically eligible, and then they ruled him ineligible, and so they say, okay, now we can't play anymore. It's kind of like there is. I'm not going to say the school, but there is a school in our district in high school. That we would always want to play towards the end of
It's high school. Say the school.
It was Louisville High School. We always wanted to play them towards the end of the season because we knew that there would be more players that would be ineligible by that point because of their
Academically,
grades.
yeah.
Yes. And so, like, when they had more players available at the beginning of the season, they were better. But you don't take away that. You don't take away the wins because those guys are now ineligible, right? It's not the exact same situation, obviously. But that's just kind of where I'm at with it. Is he was technically eligible when he played, and now he's not anymore. So
what
now
I'm
he can't
taking
play.
from that is that you actually secretly hate all schools that have farmers related to their mascots.
No, not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. We've had quite a few Aggie athletes come through from Louisville High School, from Marcus High School.
Yeah, it's a good little area.
One Caden Sorrell from Marcus.
Yeah.
You know what was cool though, and I'm gonna forget who the other person was, but we 2 weeks in a row, Taylon Green was Louisville High School quarterback. We beat him, and then the week after that, we went to LSU and beat Nussmeier, who graduated from Marcus.
Well, there
And
you
that
go.
was pretty cool for this little Flower Mound Jaguar. So, anyway.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to come down to the NCAA selection committee. I don't think necessarily there is any way that you can rectify anything when it comes to the SEC standings or anything like that. But
think about it as injuries too. Sometimes
Yeah.
selection committees take
Right.
injuries into account.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
they
that's
weren't at full strength when they beat them, or they were at full strength when they lost to them. Kind of the same thing. You're not going to change standings.
I think that's about how you treat it. Travis, what are you doing
No,
with
hold
that
on.
camera?
So
What are you doing?
it is not responding.
Punch it up. Punch up
Yeah,
the camera.
we're just
this
going
is
on
Travis's
a
little
carousel
What is
ride.
happening?
I'm trying to. Okay, it ran out.
You know what you did? You gave it too many commands, and it like lagged behind, and it actually listened to all your commands.
I think it didn't want to look at you any longer
This
because it
is-
has literally turned its back on
This is
you.
what the thumbnail of the podcast should be on YouTube and on the website.
I don't know.
For those
Is
of
that-
you who are listening,
Is this what this thing does?
I don't think so.
We need to get like AI to control this in here now.
We have two cameras here in this digital studio, and Travis has just completely turned around the second one.
Oh, well, that
No,
one.
and now he's
that
trying to
one's that
control
one, yeah.
the actual one good one.
He's broken it all in here.
The second one is just looking at the stitches on the wallpaper.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
we
well-
can bring up the other one.
Yeah. So, well, Max Crawford Cam is
I
out of
just
commission.
I could not could not focus on what you were saying.
Well, I
because
was
the whole
I was
time
trying to dial
I
it
saw
up
on the viewfinder.
be
I
on
just
you.
see this camera taking a tour of the studio.
Well,
Yeah.
now anytime that you just start talking, we're just going to go to this.
Okay, that's
So,
fine.
Yeah.
That'll
will,
be
will
the-
you punch up my
the
lower
Crawford
third? My
Cam. Yeah. Here we go. This is what we're going to
That's
get
pretty good.
for Max.
That's
from
a
now
good
on.
bit. That's me.
So anyway,
go now.
well, let's. We seem to have solved that issue for today. Men's hoops, though, has not necessarily solved some issues. They are on a 2-game losing streak, including that Alabama loss and a loss to Florida on Saturday. That was something.
Yeah,
I believe
oh,
it was 23 straight misses in the first half. They started the game 1 for 27 and ended up having a pretty lopsided loss to Florida. It's not something we've really seen from A&M since like that Oklahoma State game. I don't know. Tyler, you were in tune with this as much as anybody in this room. What were you seeing from that matchup?
So what we saw was what I expected to see more of because of their style of play. When the season first started, I said we're going to see some really highs, we're going to see some lows. We really haven't seen those lows a whole lot. Buckyball's just been humming, except for against Florida. And what we saw was the mismatch on size. Rashawn Agee has done well enough to hold his own down there, and the lack of size hasn't really mattered until you play a team like Florida that just really used it to their advantage. They were all dominating on the boards. Florida didn't play particularly well either. They didn't shoot the ball well either. And that's the
A&M played decent defense too.
Right. Played decent defense. Florida wasn't, just lighting it up. A&M had a really bad shooting night. The size affected them. Florida affected their shots. And that's just, they exposed kind of the weakness of this team. I think it's one of those. It's just a really bad matchup. And
The thing I heard about the most was A&M had 2 points through the first, what was it, like 12 minutes
Yeah.
of the game, and then Jamie Vincent gets to the free throw line and hits a free throw to make it 3 points, and it was like a alley dunk level crowd pop in there because they finally scored another point.
So our new reporter Nick that just started shot this game. He was actually at softball before, big matchup. Number 1 Texas Tech took them down to the wire. Dunk by Rashawn. It was a nice one. So he's getting post-game sound from Trisha Ford and then heads over. So he missed actually the first few minutes of this game, but he walks in and he goes, well, what has happened? I didn't miss anything because the game started and they just didn't they weren't scoring, which we haven't seen. Bucky, their offense has been able.
So this is Nick's fault. That's what I'm hearing.
I guess so.
That's what I'm hearing as well.
He wasn't there, so they weren't scoring for him. Because Nick has also been at the last two women's basketball games that they have just magically turned it on.
Yeah.
So he's kind of the good luck charm at Reed Arena.
I'll take it. I will take it.
Max, we were at a wedding and I was running over during like the bride's dad's speech, going, "Are you seeing this? Like, what's going on here?"
Yeah, which was a lovely speech, by the way, that you were just trying to interrupt. No, here's the thing.
Breaking news. The news never stops.
There have been many a wedding, especially if it's a wedding in the fall, where I was kind of glued to my phone, like trying to get score updates and stuff like that. And I think part of this is because of the just absolute de-evolution of Twitter, of what is formerly Twitter, and the person that I would look to for tweets about the game was at a wedding with me. And so I was like, I don't really have a place for updates. And like the official accounts, like the softball and the basketball one, they'll do it eventually, like occasionally. And so I was just like, whatever. I guess we'll find out later. Turned out to be a pretty good afternoon/evening to do that, because they were both, kind of frustrating losses. Frustrating in their own right. Like, with softball, it was like, it was right there. And then with basketball, obviously, things
Since you said such sweet things, I'll limit going to Crawford Cam.
Thank you.
Today.
I appreciate it. And the only other thing I'll say about this basketball game, because obviously I did not watch it, is I don't think I am going to watch it, because it's just one of those games where you hopefully just look at it, you go over film one time, and then you say, okay, that is very much behind us. We know that's not us. And so you move forward.
But we know this, in their style of play, we know stuff like this can happen.
Sure.
When you go cold.
Yeah, right. But I would venture to guess there's not going to be another 0 for 23 straight.
It won't be this bad.
Right.
I don't think it'll, even if they play Florida again in the SEC tournament, I don't think it'll be that bad. Granted, it's going to take a lot to beat them. I just don't think it's a good matchup for.
Do you think that if we're looking ahead to a tournament, run, is this a talent level thing that you think A&M has capped here? So like when we find the Houstons and the Michigan States and the Michigans of the world, that you think that's something we can expect from an A&M squad? Or do you think that this is just like Florida's not only talented, but they're, battle tested and they're big, and it was a bad shooting night, and so we just weren't able to overcome all of that?
I think that the size was the biggest issue.
Okay.
I think Florida's size just really affected the way that A&M was trying to take shots, especially around the rim.
Yep.
And when A&M can't dribble, penetrate, and get to the rim because of the size, they don't need to compact. They can spread out and defend the three a little bit easier than a lot of the other teams have been able to. So it's mitigating what A&M does best on offense.
And
Gotcha.
I think a team like you said, it's a talent thing when they run to a Houston. Or I think the way A&M plays, they're one of those teams that has the chance to just catch fire,
right,
and make a deep run. I'm not like predicting that. Yeah, I think they're going to make a deep run, but they have that possibility, because that's the beauty of March Madness. It's one and done. It takes one game. A&M's one of those teams that could get hot and just go on a deep run.
Right.
So average height, if you look at KenPom, Florida is the 13th tallest roster in the country. A&M is the 216th tallest in the country.
Right. Missouri's also kind of a tall roster, just Throwing that
Eighth, actually.
Yeah, throwing that out there. They've got size. They're not as talented as Florida in no way, but it'll be interesting to see how that matchup is.
To be fair, that metric takes into account the entire roster, whether the players play or not, too. Because sometimes teams have A&M has had bigs on their team in the past years that have been 7 foot on near 7-footers who just don't play.
Well, that's interesting because that takes into account their Florida's 7'9" guy that doesn't play.
Sure.
So
yeah,
that skews that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Missouri tonight. We're recording this on Wednesday. See if A&M can necessarily bounce back from all of that. I'm just pushing too many buttons here.
Over 40 years ago, my parents started C&J Barbecue, and today we continue to honor Dad's legacy with the best barbecue in the Brazos Valley. With locations on Harvey Road, Southwest Parkway, and our newest location on William Joe Bryan, we carry on our family tradition of serving up award-winning barbecue, sides, and desserts. We also offer delivery, catering, as well as custom menus and private chef services. Come visit us today for some of the best barbecue around. C&J Barbecue. The C is for Chip, the J is for Joe, and the barbecue is for you.
So going back to the headlines, women's hoops. They upset number 21 Alabama. They've turned some things around. Tyler, what have you seen from that group too?
Shocked, first off. They just have kind of played, I don't want to say out of their minds, but they looked really good against South Carolina. So I guess you could say it's trending in the right direction because the South Carolina game, it wasn't as, it was closer than the final score would say. I mean, they played them neck and neck until probably the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. So they were right there with the number 3 team in the country. And then the next game they followed it up with a ranked win. And really it was just blow for blow, back and forth with A&M and Alabama the entire way. The biggest difference was the turnovers. They had a season-low 7. So they did not turn the ball over against Alabama. Rather 7 times total. This is a team that's been averaging close to 20 turnovers a game. So big difference. Took care of the ball, and yeah, I mean that was it. That I don't really know what clicked. Johnny will say they played 4 quarters because that's true. Even in these like blowout losses they've had, they've played decent in halves, just not for an entire game. And these last 2 games against South Carolina and then the win against Alabama, they played well for 4 quarters. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know how. Like, why couldn't you have done that earlier? I don't know, but they did now.
I mean, that was, if you think back on the men's side, that was a little bit of the calling card sometimes of the Buzz Williams men's basketball team.
I was just about to say, there were some Buzz teams that would lose 4 in a row and then they'd win 7 in a row, and would lose another 4 or 5 in a row and then would finish out the season winning 7 in a row. Like
there was just something about things coming together later in the season, kind of figuring it out as the season goes.
He's running out of time with his current squad, that's for sure.
That's true, too.
That is a whole other conversation that I just...
We can do another pod.
This is not the Terps podcast, but
no. There were some. I know what you're talking about, but that was just a very interesting press conference most recently.
Yeah, I agree.
Not a
some
whole
thoughts
lot
there.
Great going on in College Park now.
College Station though.
College Station though.
Lit.
The Aggie women's basketball. They be rolling.
Yes.
Well, the college we've already done that one. So let's just go ahead and go to 13 Aggies coming to the combine.
That is noteworthy again that we can at least kind of keep it the same. For
It did not change from last week.
It did not change from last week.
That is good.
We'll just reset that graphic. But 13 Aggies combine invite. Those 13 Aggies are as such on your screen. There's. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on
13.
offense.
Oh, okay.
6 on defense.
What are you asking?
Yeah.
He's gonna count all 13.
And a lot. 4 of
count them, ladies and gentlemen. 13.
4 offensive linemen on this list. We were kind of talking about this a lot today. These guys were in and out of the Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine Bowl. A lot of them kind of went early. And then checked out before the games were actually played. Curious to see how many of these guys are going to actually work out in the combine, how many of these guys are going to do the combine and pro day, might just do pro day. It's been an interesting offseason for A&M's draft-eligible guys and what they're choosing to do and not do. But, again, it's the most of any team in the country. And I believe it's the record for just A&M players at the combine period in all time.
They had 3 last year.
Yeah.
I mean, just the difference. They had 3 last year, 5 the year before, 3 the year before that. So you take the last 3 seasons combined, this is more.
You know what
combine
this tells
invites.
me? Pro day is going to be a really long day.
I was gonna
Work day.
I was going to say that makes me feel a little more nervous about the 2026 season for A&M in a way. But I think this is a long-term win at big time.
Maybe
right?
maybe next year's a little blip.
Right.
But if you do this year after year, I mean, think
Right.
about all the players in the draft that
Especially-
Alabama and Georgia pump out every
Right.
year.
Especially tight end, OL.
Yes.
Like I love that recruiting tool right there. Like, look at all of the offensive linemen that we are putting in the draft putting in the combine at the very, very least, right? We are going to set you up to have a chance, right?
For those of you on the audio only, it's Le'Veon Moss, Casey Concepcion, Nate Burkacher, Chase Pasantis, Demetrius Cranover, Armaj Reed-Adams, Trey Zune on offense. Defense, Cassius Howell, Tyler Onyedem, Albert Regis, Scooby Williams, Torian York, and Will Lee.
How many is that?
That is 7 on offense, 6 on defense, 13 total.
Okay.
Armaj,
Should we count them out?
yes, but do it like the count from Sesame Street. So Armaj Reed-Adams is the one that kind of sticks out to me the most because he's a guy that kind of has always had the measurables. He's a team captain, but he's also had trouble staying on the field some this year. And so I'm curious to see what the testing looks like, how much testing he does. And
Is that something where you go in and like really just nail the such and such reps at 225 thing to just kind of show that you have a little more stamina than what people think? Is that even a thing that they do anymore?
yeah, I don't know. Because it seems like I'm a little disoriented by maybe what some of the strategies are now because it seems like they've changed in the last year or two. I don't know. I think I think that he certainly is going to have to be a considerate amount of conversations with teams to talk a little bit about why he was the first guy subbed out when A&M went with an alternative lineup and sometimes had struggled getting back on the field when that unit was clicking well.
I think he should just run out onto his on-field workouts in Indianapolis holding a chair.
Yeah,
And,
there you go. Just let him know. I mean, I'm telling you, man, I do think that there's something to be said about that, though, is if maybe there's some conditioning question with this guy, but like that he is an enforcer and an attitude guy that you can have on your team. That's what I'm seeing. I'm looking at Chase Pasantis, obviously Trey Zune, but like if you're talking interior guys, I'm looking at Chase Pasantis and Armaj Reed-Adams and going, I would take either one of those dudes.
Demetrius Cranover had a great all-star
Like I think all of these
performance,
dudes
too.
are going to play in the NFL. I think like we've said, like Armaj Reed-Adams may be the biggest question mark there, but like I think the attitude is there. If you get him in the right conditioning, like in an NFL type scenario, I don't know. I just love that in the locker room.
This also tells me we're probably going to have a busy NFL draft week as well.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had, there's probably going to be more Aggies drafted than what we're used to, at least for the past few years.
Because, I mean, I don't mean to put you guys on the spot here, but what's the most Aggies that we've seen drafted before?
I think it's 11 is the record, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, from one of the Jimbo teams.
No, I believe it was one of like around Manziel's.
That would have been before me.
Okay, gotcha.
Like
Montre Moore and all those guys.
Yeah.
Since I've been here, we have not had double-digit.
I believe 11 or 12 is the record.
Okay.
They could rival that this year.
Yeah. Well, that is we'll definitely have all kinds of stuff coming back from the combine to report, and we'll be looking at draft, looking at pro day when all that comes around. But it is baseball time in Aggie land. The Aggie baseball team opens things up, and that is our conversation for this week. Is this a season that A&M can make that turnaround in baseball? Because it was a disappointing one for the Aggies in year one of Michael Earley's tenure here. There was a team that started the season ranked number 1, coming off a World Series runner-up performance, and just kind of failed to live up to those expectations. Didn't make the NCAA tournament. Is this to you a team that returns to the NCAA tournament?
Oof, you're gonna ask me that now on February 11th.
Yeah. Well, is this a team that makes the turnaround? Which I think that is
capable. Yes. I think they are capable. They have talent. They've always had that talent. My biggest question mark is, what do the arms look like? What does that bullpen look like? I think that's going to be the key. It doesn't help that they're already going in a little injured. Mm-hmm. To me, right now, you have 2 solid starters, and after that, there's a lot of question marks, and that's going to be kind of tough to get through an SEC grind if you don't answer those questions as the season goes on. So yeah, they're capable. I think as long as the bullpen can, provide enough support. But that's yet to be determined and seen. So, yes, they can make a turnaround. I think it's going to be tough, though.
To me, it looks like they have enough defense and bats to be competitive. It's the pitching that is interesting to me.
And they kind of, with Jim Schlossingel's early years, they kind of had that situation where maybe they didn't have the best pitching situation, but they kind of hit their way out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
one of the better tournament teams that we had was exactly that. Like, we would win games like 13-11.
Yep.
And that's the kind of season that I'm expecting. Is will the clutch hitting be there? And obviously, like, you need some clutch fielding too. If you do assume that pitching is going to be your weakness there, I think there's going to be a lot of long games this year.
Great.
And I think there's going to be I think there's going to be a couple
I really want you to have to stay late now.
I think there's going to be a couple of those Sunday afternoon games, like especially when you get into conference.
Here we go. Just keep talking.
Yep, there I am. I think there's going to be a lot of like Sunday afternoon games when you get into conference, and like we'll even come out to like a 5 or 6-0 lead. And then a half inning later, it's 6-5, and you just kind of have to grind it out. And I think those types of games are going to be what decides whether at this point next year we're talking about a coach in year one or not.
Wasn't it Georgia where they were down like 9-0
right.
or 8-0 or something?
Yeah,
and then come back and win that game.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, can we actually do this? And I think that Early showed that he was capable of beating the big teams and capable of getting a squad ready for a very big weekend. I just don't think that he showed that he was capable of like sustaining that all the way through a season. I don't know that an off season, especially where you lose a couple of assistants and you lose one of your would-be starters to Tommy Johns, is going to add a whole lot of stability to your second season. But you do hope that there's a significant jump in just, I don't know if it's decision making or just the ability to sustain success, but it kind of just seems like this is his chance, and you want to either host a regional or you want to try to get out of a regional or like give it the best shot. And because I don't think that just making the tournament is going to be enough to keep him. I think there's got to be some other piece to that. Are we hosting come the end of the season, which I think would be insane if we were able to do that, just because the SEC is the SEC.
What about making a regional and beating Texas?
I think that would be, I think that would probably be something that you look back and say, okay, well, there's clear progress. Let's get another contract in or something like that. And if you're Trev, I don't think that that's a type of contract where you've got a huge buyout, because I think we're still giving Early a chance at that point, where a lot of other teams who would maybe want the Texas A&M head coach would still say, I don't know if we want him necessarily just yet. And then if then you move on from there. So yeah, I think that would be something within the context of like you get a huge series win against Texas and you make a regional and you make it to the regional final or something like that, then yeah, I think you would say that's probably enough to keep your job.
I'm really interested to see what Gavin Grahovic can do this year, because he is the linchpin of this team. He's the straw that stirs. He's going to be the guy. He set the freshman home run record his freshman year, but missed all of last year. How quickly is that timing going to come back in game situations? There's also the chance here that we're going to see him move over to first base. He's played third base his entire time at A&M, but he's been working out at first. I don't think that is necessarily something that is predicated on his ability to play third. To me, that says that they don't know if they're going to have enough production at first base, and they have a decent amount of good infielders. We saw the transfer Elijah Batista working out over there at third a little bit in one of the practices we were at. So I think not only is this going to depend a lot on the success of A&M's pitching staff, but I think Gavin Grahovec is going to need to be the Gavin Grahovec of his freshman season for this team to be able to make that turnaround.
And that's a lot of weight on Grahovec's shoulders, too.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple other guys you can put that weight on. Like Sorrell is still there. and Sorrell is like the reason that we were in games for so much of last season. So I think that's probably your 1-2, right, as far as who you expect to step up in some of the bigger situations when it's like 2 on, 2 out, and you really need at least a run. I think Sorrell and Grahovec are the two guys that you'd most want to be. But, like, we need Terrence Keel to be like how he was at the beginning of the season last season, where you could, like, trust him to get on base. You need some of those other pieces of guys who just are able to get in play.
You have transfer Chris Hakopian, too.
Yeah.
Could be a big piece. So I think their lineup is going to be better than last year. It's going to need to be.
You would hope that, Early reputation as a hitting coach comes through here with Bendrup, with Bear Harrison. Like, there's guys. We've got guys. We need them to come through.
For as much as I'm curious about Gavin Grahovec, I'm also curious about Blake Bendrup.
Yeah.
Because he's been a guy who has been streaky. There's been times where he has played his way into the lineup, and there's times that he's absolutely played his way out of the lineup, especially defensively. And so, it could be the situation where he's looking at more of a DH role if that's why they are looking at Gavin Grahovec over at first base a little bit as well. I'm really curious. We talked a little bit about him last week, but Jorian Wilson. I asked Michael Earley about it, and he said he's kind of got all the raw talent. Like, when he's the guy that when he gets off the bus, the other team's coaches are like, why didn't I recruit that guy? Is kind of what he was saying. But there is still going to be a learning curve, and I'm curious to see how much of an impact he'll make on A&M's lineup to start out with. But at least in the one practice, it's a small case study. He was the only guy out there in right field taking reps in right. So curious to see how he fits into this equation. And then there's the curious case of Travis Chestnut, who comes back for another year for a 17th season, and he's going to be.
I did see that, and I thought he must be looking at last year's roster.
Yeah, no. But he is back on the team.
Still out there.
He's been another option there at the infield. I mean, the infield is going to be really interesting because you got Hakopian, you got Gavin Grahovec, you've got Travis Chestnut, you got Ben Royo, who came along strong at the end of the season last year, and would be fighting for one of those positions. So we
got guys.
There's a lot of good quality infielders, a lot of good defensive infielders out there too. You think Bear Harrison is locking down catching duties, and you're going to have some mixture of Sorrell, Terrence Keel, maybe Jorian Harrison, Jorian Wilson. Several different options out there in the outfield. That could go. Shane Sadeo is a starter. Weston Moss will be a starter. And then beyond that, we'll see. It pretty much seems like Josh Stewart's going to be coming out of the bullpen. Clayton Freshcorn will be out of the bullpen. Maybe Aiden Sims is an option for that Sunday starter. I don't know. That Sunday starter is going to be interesting as well.
Yeah. Again, this is because of that talent that we kind of talked about in the lineup. Yeah, it is a lot of weight on Grahovec's shoulders. But if all of these guys kind of come along and Grahovec steps into that, that Jace Lavalette role of what he once was. I mean, this might be a team that, the pitching won't matter as much. It'll be like those A&M teams from a few years ago where it's a double-digit, 12 to 9, those kind of games.
I think that is exactly right. I think you hit the nail on the head, and I think this is where I hate that we're talking about this already, but it was a 2-year contract, and so it makes sense for us to talk about it. But I think this is where Early earns his keep. if you pride yourself on development and bringing up really good hitters, you need those. You need Bear and Bendrup and beyond to continue to hit and play yourself into wins. And we've got to see that translate, right?
And he's still the head coach, obviously, but he this fall kind of said he's stepped into that back to his old hitting coach role, which he wasn't necessarily doing last year. This is kind of like Mike Elko going from, hey, I'm just the CEO to I'm going to kind of take over the defense this year. And we saw how well that went.
Right.
And so can there be a similar translation? The difference from football last year to this year, will baseball be the same with Early kind of going back into a more comfortable role as hitting coach?
I almost wasn't going to bring this up, but I kind of do. The Longhorns baseball schedule and how different that is from some others around the SEC. How they
conspiracy
avoid
going on here
a little bit.
All right,
I'm not going to lie, a little bit. Just the teams that they avoid playing at their place, and it was just a whole list of teams that they don't play. Arkansas being one of them, which to me is insane.
Those two teams should always play.
I agree. I fully agree.
Yeah,
whether it's baseball, softball, football,
A&M and Arkansas should always play.
I very much agree with that as well. But anyway, I guess that was it. That was really just it. Just go and look at their schedule. Go and look at their slate.
The other diamond
They
sport.
still got to come to College Station.
They still have to come to College Station.
You dang sure right, sir.
The other sport
And that is
out
gonna
there,
be just a feisty week.
Oh my gosh.
we will do. I'm sure we are going to do a whole podcast. Just on that series. The other diamond sport out there is softball, and they got their season started and mowed through the games that they should have won, but struggled a little bit against Texas Tech. Curious that they went this early to go against this Texas Tech team, or this early in the season, and I think there leaves some. It leaves it to be a little bit more okay because it was more of a test than it was a showcase for what is going to be at the end of the season per se.
Yeah, and I think Trisha Ford likes that. She wants this team to be tested and to kind of see what they're made of and fight through some adversity because it doesn't get much tougher than playing the top-ranked team in the country. As Max would probably like to point out, the most paid roster in the country.
Look, man, if you've got money, spend it. I'm not.
No, I mean,
I just don't like that it's them.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good at softball, and A&M gave them all they could handle. I mean, it was 3-2, great game. It was tied in the fifth inning. So, yeah, I think Aggie softball might be right back where they were last year in that mix. I think for sure they're going to be hosting again. Granted, they've got the gauntlet of the SEC softball schedule to get through,
which arguably is even tougher than the baseball schedule.
100%. You have almost the entire league is in the top 25.
And I don't know, maybe this is just a weird blind faith that I have in Trisha Ford, but it seemed like we got through that schedule last year so easily, and I know that it wasn't easy, but just the way that we mowed through the opposition for the most part was a sight to behold. And I know that we lost some players, but I also know that we picked up some players, and we've got a couple of key folks returning. I've said this before. I think Maya Pettis is like one of the three best athletes on campus, and I think she's just going to have a big year. I'm thinking of some of the OU softball players just over the past like 5, 6, 10 years who are just absolute sluggers. Like every time they come to the bat, they've got like a 600 average by the end of the season. And I think Maya Perez is going to be one of those people. Like it just reminds me of like that clutch slugging OU softball player, and I think that we have a couple of those on our squad.
Last year they did, mowing through that schedule, they did avoid Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Last year. So I'm not saying, that's why they were the number one overall seed, but it helped that
sure.
Even though they had a tough schedule, it could have been much tougher. I think this year will definitely be a bigger test. Yeah. As far as they're going to have to play Texas this year.
Curious to see how Trisha uses this pitching staff this year, because as I think we've talked about before on here, it is a staff that doesn't have the same top end talent as it does last year, but it's probably a little bit deeper and can do a few more things, changing up speeds, changing up power pitchers with spinners and things like that. And I think that falls a little bit then more under the shoulders of your manager to get the right arms in at the right time to be effective. So I think they certainly have as deep of a pitching staff as they've had since, probably in the last decade.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily have that same top-end power as they have had last year or some of the years before.
No, but if they learn how to use it, they'll be able to use that depth to their advantage, and that might be the key to actually making a run to Oklahoma City this year.
And I think that's one of the reasons why a game like this isn't necessarily that telling to how the season is going to be or go, because I think that is certainly how you use your pitching staff is certainly something that comes along as the season goes on, and you get more people into different experiences and figure out how they're best utilized. So that's going to be an interesting piece to that puzzle for them. Well, it's a little warm in here in this room. I'm getting a little toasty, so let's just go ahead and move right along to around the SEC. We're going to take a look at the Winter Olympics, because that's what's most on most of the screens in our newsroom right now. All kinds of different sports going on. Of course, we have Boone Niederhofer there in the picture, the Aggie, who is over there in Milan Cortina. I did the research on Team USA. This is both the Olympics and the Paralympics. There are 3 SEC athletes. You have Boone Niederhofer from A&M. He's in bobsled. Erin Jackson from Florida. She is speed skating. And Jen Lee from Texas is playing sled hockey in the Paralympics. So only 3 SEC athletes, and Boone Niederhofer is one of them. What is the Olympic sport event that you've been the most tuned into so far?
I've probably watched the most curling.
I love curling.
But
love
that's just
curling.
kind of happenstance. I do love it. My favorite is probably speed skating.
Speed skating is fun too.
It's insane.
It is insane. I marvel at what they're able to do.
I watched. I think it was maybe the 1,000-meter women's final, and there was a U.S. woman who had the best up to that point, and she was in first. And just to watch her get knocked down by 2 Netherlands skaters and I think maybe a Korean skater, it was just so crazy. And then whatever that one lady's name was just like absolutely insane. But yeah, those are the 2 that I probably watched the most. I've watched a little bit of the slaloms and the downhill skiing, which is also
I really
absolutely insane. They get
the
up to
drones that they have behind them at the start too. That's been really cool.
Camera angles of all these downhill skiing.
It speaks to how crazy athletic those people are to be going 90 miles per hour on skis. It's just insane.
And the margin for error too.
Yeah,
like just to see like one tiny little movement that way, and the commentator's like, let's slow them down.
Another thing,
I never knew they had the spikes on their gloves at the beginning, like on the fingertips of their gloves. They have like track spikes basically, and so when they're doing that thing at the start, they actually can grip into the ice with their hands. It's really fascinating.
And darn it! It just literally left my brain. We were talking about skiing. Oh, the cross country skier. Did you see the video that's going viral of the dude running uphill in his skis?
No.
And they were tracking him at a 6-minute mile while he was running uphill in his skis.
No thanks.
The athleticism is absolutely insane.
I covered cross country skiing while I was in Wyoming, because that was a sanctioned high school sport. Was Nordic skiing.
That's crazy.
How do you cover that? How miserable were you, just temperature-wise?
Well, I had to buy real boots. Everyone kind of laughed at me when I showed up to the mountain the first time, and just, I bundled up, obviously, but I didn't have the heavy-duty big boots to,
that's crazy.
Camera everything. Yeah, I'd be carrying a camera up a ski lift, and you cover it like you would a cross country meet.
Yeah,
because it's what it is. It's a cross country meet, but on skis. So you get the start, and they usually loop around, so you get different viewing points, and you get the finish, and it was fun. It's a fun event.
Okay,
I enjoy just regular cross country. So
sure,
Nordic skiing was. They also have sanctioned downhill skiing too, so we covered that as well.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm real excited for the hockey to start up. Big hockey guy. We'll be tuning into that. The USA women took down Canada. I believe it was yesterday.
It's a big win.
A winger for the women's team from Capel, up in the DFW area. That's an interesting one. I believe they said they're on the Team USA, 4 Team USA athletes from Texas in the Winter Olympics, which is
How neat is that?
interesting. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on all of that, and especially when Boo Niederhofer and his bobsled team get up and running here in a couple weeks. We'll have all kinds of coverage from that, breaking that down. Well, that's all the time we have this week for this podcast. Be sure to check KBTX.com for all of our coverage of everything A&M as we hit crossover season and the Aggie baseball team gets things geared up this weekend. Max, before we close, tell me you got me some good weather. Good weather this weekend?
2 out of 3 is not bad.
Okay.
I think we should
I'll take 2 out of 3.
We should go to Crawford Cam for that.
I was going to say,
Tell me about.
Got to keep an eye on Saturday, folks.
Tell me about the weather, Max.
It's cold front coming through on Saturday. Looks we are anywhere from 80 to 100% chance of rain for Saturday right this second. So I would be prepared for rain if Saturday's the day you're going to Olson. And I think it just depends on if there's lightning or not. Like, playing in the rain is perfectly fine. Do they just want to wait until it all moves out and it would be kind of like a Saturday late afternoon, Saturday evening game? That's what I would bet on right now, is that they maybe try to push it back to 4, and then they might even have to push it back to 5 or 6 if they're just waiting for the rain to completely clear out type of deal. But Friday looks fine, and Sunday looks gorgeous. So, yeah, Friday is going to be the best day for dingers.
Best day for dingers. A little
warm.
warm.
Have that south wind on Friday.
Little warm air and a little south wind.
Saturday and Sunday probably both won't be great for carrying.
We need to do
because either rain or a north wind.
Meteorological scientific study on the weather and dingers.
It's really pretty simple. And they built Olson in the right direction for the prevailing wind to be good for that.
Yeah.
A lot of times it blows right on out of the stadium, but if you get a good front, it'll blow into the stadium.
And it's real cold.
Yeah, and it gets real cold.
It's whatever the temperature is when it's cold.
Olson is just crazy because
it's 20 degrees lower than everything
or it's
else.
120 degrees.
Yes, exactly. So be sure to dress accordingly this weekend because it could be anything in Olson Field, Bluebell Park. And we'll have all kinds of coverage from that, both on KBTX.com and the 5, 6, and 10 with Tyler, Aaron, and Nick, our new guy who you met last week. So for Max Crawford, Tyler Shaw, I'm Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra Podcast, and we'll see you next week.